What I'm saying is the opposite. When you feel empowered, then you do not feel like a victim. And because you're not feeling like a victim, then you're able to look after yourself more, and you're able to look after other people better as well. That's the thing. Otherwise, the blame game, as it were, can go on forever. You know? It's always somebody else's fault. My misery is caused by somebody else. Doesn't mean other people cannot make you miserable. I mean, that we know. But just simply thinking that other people are to be blamed for our misery does not empower us. That's what I'm saying. So, compassion then should be seen as an empowering force. This power which nurtures us. As Shantideva has said in Bodhichita Avatara, compassion should be seen as water, that we need in terms of irrigation. If you want to grow vegetables, if you want to grow wheat or barley, whatever, you need irrigation. So he says, if you have compassion, then everything, all the things that we want in life will grow. If we do not have compassion, nothing would grow. So he said, compassion is the root of all the virtues. It is that which allows all of the things that we want in life to grow. If we don't have it, it won't happen. We will be living a miserable life. So I think that's a very important thing to think about and contemplate on. Because it is the root of all the things that we need in life. You see, in Buddhism, the virtuous qualities and the moral principles and so forth are not laid down as something to be obeyed, but to be cultivated. Why? Because they are useful for us. They help us to live our life more fully. We don't abide by the moral principles that the Buddha spoke about simply because Buddha said, you should abide by these rules. Those rules and moral principles are helpful, not dogmatically to be followed. And also in Buddhism, as you know, it depends on what sort of individual you are, what you want to do with your life, whether you want to be celibate or not celibate, all kinds of things like that. Buddhism does not have one single rule for everybody. It has to do with what that particular person's objective is in life, what that person wants to do with his or her life. Like if somebody wants to be celibate, then Buddhism has rules for those people. If somebody doesn't want to be celibate, then it's a different thing. But I think sometimes, Even on that level, in the West, people get confused over that. But, because sometimes people think almost every single Buddhist should be like a celibate monk or nun, something like that, which is absurd. It's never been like that in Buddhist countries. If you're Buddhist, you should not eat meat. If you're Buddhist, you should not smoke cigarettes. If you're Buddhist, whatever. But anyway, I'm not saying people should be smoking or eating meat or anything like that. All I'm saying is that Buddhism sets different kinds of moral guidelines. Buddha set different moral guidelines to different kinds of people. And this sort of goes in with what I was saying about compassion. Because, whatever moral guidelines and principles that we live by has to be related to compassion. Either compassion for oneself or compassion for others. And either in terms of restraint, not to do harm for oneself, and not to do harm others, or to benefit others. So in Buddhism, again, we make distinction in that regard as well. Refrain is one thing, and then actively engaging in beneficial activity is a separate thing. So for instance, if you do not take life, then that means you do not want to harm another sentient creature. But if you try to save somebody's life, that's a different form of moral action. You're not just not sort of restraining yourself from harming others, but you're actually actively engaged in wanting to save others' lives. So compassion has to be practiced in that way. Seeing the ways in which we can be compassionate. It is not just one thing. So that's where the bodhi aspect comes in, as I mentioned before. You need wisdom. You need wisdom. It is not just enough that you care about other people, or that you do not want to do harm. What does it really mean? Well, what it means is you have to really study. You have to go into the teachings more deeply. And I think that part is lost sometimes in the West. Wisdom and knowledge are related. Wisdom and knowledge are not the same. Knowledge leads you to wisdom. Wisdom you already possess. You already possess wisdom. But if you have no knowledge, you do not know how to exploit or explore or discover that wisdom that you already possess. So, prajna and jnana, they go together. Prajna means knowledge, and jnana means wisdom. So, via accumulation of knowledge, you discover wisdom. But your wisdom, the wisdom never sort of increases like your knowledge does. You learn more if you study more, if you cultivate your mind, if you learn how to become more alert with your mind, use your intellect and so forth. But wisdom does not increase or decrease, as Buddhist teachings say. The fact that we are confused, lost, doesn't mean our wisdom mind has now become dimmed, or that we have lost it or something. It's always there. So, what Buddhism then says is that it is because we have wisdom in ourselves, we can even think of cultivating our mind and becoming more knowledgeable about such and such subject matter and so on. Knowledge would not be there if we did not have wisdom. This is the Buddhist view. Without wisdom, we would have no knowledge. Any kind of pursuit of knowledge is based on the fact that we have this inherent sense of knowingness, if you like, wakefulness, alertness. That's some kind of intuitive way of understanding the world around us and knowing something about oneself as well. So, knowledge then is used to activate that wisdom, as it is said in Buddhist teachings. And compassion is a way of doing that. Compassion also is part of that activity of bringing wisdom into effect. Because when we are using compassion with intelligence, as I was saying before, when we do that, then we are knowledgeable. We become more knowledgeable about ourselves, about other people. If we are using compassion in the right way, what does it generate? It generates understanding. You understand yourself more. You understand other people more. You understand your feelings more. You understand other people's feelings more. You understand your needs more. You understand other people's needs more. So understanding. You understand more. That's knowledge. Right? So, that's the thing. So, understanding and compassion, right? They go together. Knowledge, if you like, knowledge, understanding, all of these things have to go together with compassion. So that's the relative aspect of bodhichitta, as I was saying. So that's why in Mahayana Buddhism, relative bodhicitta is presented as in the form of 6 paramitas, 6 transcendental actions, as you know. Generosity, moral precept, patience, vigor, meditative concentration, and wisdom. In this case, it's actually more like knowledge, not wisdom. It's really knowledge. It's not jnana, it's prajna, prajna, knowledge. So you have to bring all of these things together to practice compassion.